Hi everyone, I am Wafalango and welcome you all in Grammar in Detail. If you are new and not subscribed the channel, so please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get some more videos about grammar. Today we will be discussing the ditransitive verb make from active voice into passive voice, how we are going to change it. Before starting this, we need to put a glance on the definition of ditransitive verb. And if you are new and not subscribed the channel, so please subscribe the channel, press the bell icon to get some more videos about grammar. You will be informed about the new videos. So somehow let's start the today's activity. We have got the today definition of ditransitive verb. Di means to, transitive which can be changed into passive voice, and verb which shows an action. So those verbs which need two objects, keep in your mind those verbs which need two objects and can be changed in passive voice into four ways, and we can change them in passive voice in how many ways? Four ways are called the di or ditransitive verbs. Ditransitive verbs need one direct object and one indirect object. Direct object means all non-livings and indirect object means all livings. All non-livings are called direct object and all livings are called indirect object. Why do they need two objects? Because if you put one of the objects, the meaning won't be clear and understandable. Suppose if I say he makes me. He makes me. Now I am not a machine or a car or something like that. He will make me. Clear? So for that you need to put the both objects. Here the meaning is even not clear and understandable. And if I say he makes tea, now a question arises, for whom does he make tea? So for that you need to bring the indirect and direct object together. Suppose I say he makes me tea. Now over there he makes for me what? Tea. And he makes tea for whom? For me. So for that both objects are necessary. Mostly we bring indirect object at the beginning and direct object at the end. But if you want to bring the direct object at the beginning and indirect at the end, you will shuffle the places. So for that you need to use a preposition. And make will be followed by a preposition for. Suppose you will be writing it in this way. He makes tea for me. So these are the two ways to change them from active voice into passive voice. He makes me tea, he makes tea for me. So for that if you bring the direct object at the beginning, so indirect object me will be followed by a preposition. So these are the two ways to change them into active voice. Our main target, how we are going to change them into passive voice. We have got the ditransitive verbs, and there are four ways to change them into passive voice. Before starting that, we will discuss that we are going to change them with our with used to. Used to, most of the grammarian have got confusion. Some of the grammarians say it is a structure, some of them say that it is a modal auxiliary verb. Keep in your mind, if it is a modal auxiliary verb, how we are going to change them into passive voice, and if it is a structure, how we are going to change it. So here we will be using it as modal auxiliary verb. Used to, how we are going to use. And used to is used for past habits and actions. Habits and actions which we did in past, but now we have left doing those actions. So for that we used to do them in past, but now we don't do them. For that you will be using the modal auxiliary verb used to. And he used to make me tea. Now he has left making tea for me. And he used to make tea for me. So these are the two ways to change them into active voice. And I told you me usually comes at the beginning, the indirect object, then direct object. And if you want to bring the direct object at the beginning, so me will be followed, means indirect object will be followed by a preposition. And main target, how we are going to change them into passive voice. So for that when you change them into passive voice, keep in your mind, here subject is the doer of an action. Here your subject changes into by him. So here by him will not be called object. When it takes the place of object, there it will be called agent. And what is the definition of agent? It tells us who does an action. So over there, who is the doer of an action in this sentence? Him. So means by him this action is being done. And in the same way, when you bring the indirect object or direct object at the beginning in the place of subject, me you make I, and after that T at the beginning. So over there they are called no doubt subject, but there they are not called the doer of an action subject. They are called title and topic subject. And what is title and topic? Subject, definition, a person, place or a thing in a sentence which we are talking about. In first and second sentence we are talking about a person, in third and fourth sentence we are talking about a thing. So keep in your mind, when you bring the indirect object at the in the place of subject, so by him comes at the beginning, t at the end, t at the beginning, by him at the end. In the same way, when you bring the direct object t in the place of subject, so by him comes at the beginning, for me at the end, for me at the beginning, by him at the end. So these are the four ways to change them. What are simple sentences which make simple statements are called simple sentences. While changing them into simple sentences, we'll be writing in them in this way: he used to make me tea, he used to make tea for me. And main target, how we are going to change them into passive voice: I used to be made by him tea, I used to be made tea by him, tea used to be made by him for me, tea used to be made for me by him. Next we have got negative sentences. Those sentences in which we deny the statement, reject the statement and refuse the statement are called negative sentences. He used not to make me tea, he used not to make tea for me. I used not to be made by him tea, I used not to be made tea by him. Tea used not to be made by him for me, tea used not to be made for me by him. Keep in your mind, here D is silent, it is not pronounced in all sentences. You will say it used to, not used to. So that should be in your mind. Interrogative sentences, those sentences in which we ask question and put queries are called interrogative sentences. Use he to make me tea, use he to make tea for me. Use I to be made by him tea, use I to be made tea by him. Use tea to be made by him for me, use tea to be made for me by him. So these are the four ways to change them into passive voice. Next we have got formal sentences, those sentences in which we ask questions, deny this statement and we ask them in a formal and polite way are called formal sentences. Use he not to make me tea, use he not to make tea for me. Use I not to be made by him tea, use I not to be made tea by him. Use tea not to be made by him for me, use tea not to be made for me by him. Next we have got informal sentences, those sentences in which we ask questions, deny the statement, we ask them in an informal way, in a friendly atmosphere. We use it with our youngers, juniors and with whom you are close with, and you can use it with your friends. And use not short form is usen't. And usen't he to make me tea, usen't he to make tea for me. Usen't I to be made by him tea, usen't I to be made tea by him. Usen't tea to be made by him for me, usen't tea to be made for me by him. So these are the sentences of ditransitive verb, make, from active voice into passive voice with modal auxiliary verb use to. So these we have already discussed now. Hope you got today's lecture. Wish you best of luck. See you next time with next lecture. Goodbye.